8.1 and upped her assist numbers, resulting in her first All-Star instead. She pushed through and regained her self-belief. In her second year, she more than doubled her scoring average from 8.5 points per game to
25 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists per game since the All-Star break. An 8-2 record for her team, leading the entire league in scoring and assists. And still, Caitlin Clark didn't crack the top 5 for MVP. Are you kidding me? Let's talk about Caitlin Clark for a second.
Most anticipated in history with the arrival of the marquee 3-6, Skylar Diggins-Smith, Brittany Griner, and Elena Deladon. Skylar went third.
This rookie is tearing up the WNBA like it's nothing. She's not just good, she's making the Indiana Fever look like a whole new team. Remember when they were struggling? Now they're winning games left and right. But here's the crazy part. Despite all this, Clark got left out of the MVP ladder's top 5. Can you believe it? It's like everyone's watching a different game or something. You know what's even crazier? This snub is making fans lose their minds. We're gonna dive into Clark's insane season, break down why she deserves that MVP spot, and show you just how fired up her supporters are. Trust me, you won't want to miss this. Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
Skylar Diggins-Smith, All-Star mom and All-Star player. On top of being Coach Muffet McGraw. And when you learn from a Hall of Famer, something just clicks in you.
Needs a screen. Tough shot, she got it off in time. How about that?
Clicking is the understatement of the century because she was racking.
Fans are furious, but they're not the only ones taking notice. Imagine a player so good, she's making veteran All-Stars look like they're still in college. That's exactly what Caitlin Clark is doing right now. Let's talk about Clark's journey from college superstar to WNBA sensation. She didn't just step onto the court, she exploded onto it. The Indiana Fever went from struggling to turning heads, and it's all thanks to this rookie phenom. You want stats? Clark's got them in spades. She's not just leading her team, she's leading the entire league in scoring and assists. Since the All-Star break, she's been putting up numbers that make you do a double take.
Diggins racing after that basketball. And she's staying put in South Bend to play for
Nearly 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 9 assists per game. That's not rookie numbers, folks. That's MVP territory. Remember when the Fever couldn't catch a break? Those days are long gone. Clark's transformed this team into a winning machine. They've won more games this season than in the last 2 combined. It's like Clark brought a whole new playbook with her, and the rest of the league is scrambling to keep up. But it's not just about the numbers. You should see Clark on the court.
Most improved player, 2013 WNBA All-Rookie Team. That's a mouthful. But to tell it is hooping, navigating a boardroom, being a mom in the W, or getting a fit off in that tunnel was a whole punchline at the Eskies. That it factor personality.
She's got this presence, this confidence that you just can't teach. 1 minute she's threading the needle with an impossible pass, the next she's sinking a 3 from way downtown. And the way she reads the game, it's like she's 3 steps ahead of everyone else. You know what's wild? Clark isn't just good for a rookie. She's redefining what we thought was possible for a first-year player in the WNBA. We're not just watching a talented newcomer, we're watching history in the making. Think about it. How many rookies come into the league and immediately become the focal point of their team's offense? How many can say they're involved in almost every scoring play? Whether they're making the shot or dishing out the assist? That's Clark for you. Take her off the court, and the Fever's offense would look completely different. So, Clark's dominating? But apparently that's not enough. The MVP race just got interesting, and not in the way anyone expected. Who made the cut, and why is Clark on the outside looking in? Let's break down the top 5 MVP candidates and see what's really going on. First up, we've got A'ja Wilson, Nefisa Collier, Sabrina Ionescu, Brianna Stewart, and Alyssa Thomas. These are the cream of the crop, the best of the best. Or are they? When you start comparing their stats to Clark's, things get a little weird. Take Sabrina Ionescu, for example. She's having a great season, no doubt, but Clark's outscoring her, dishing out more assists, and grabbing more rebounds. And yet, Ionescu's in the top 5 and Clark's not? Make it make sense. It's not just Ionescu either. Clark's numbers are right up there with the best of them. She's leading the entire league in scoring and assists. That's not just good, that's MVP level performance. So what gives? Now, I know what you're thinking. Maybe it's not just about the stats. Maybe there's some secret MVP sauce we're missing. But here's the thing. Even when you look at team impact, Clark's got a strong case. The Fever went from bottom feeders to playoff contenders practically overnight. If that's not valuable, I don't know what is. So let's talk about this MVP voting process for a sec. It's all about points, right? Players get ranked, points get assigned, and boom, you've got your MVP ladder. But when you've got a player like Clark putting up these numbers and still not cracking the top 5, you've got to wonder if something's off with the system. I mean, seriously, what more could Clark possibly do? She's already leading the league in 2 major categories. She's turned her team's fortunes around. She's putting on a show night after night. Short of literally flying on the court, what else does she need to do to get some MVP love? Here's the kicker. When you really break down the numbers, Clark's exclusion from the top 5 becomes even more baffling. It's not just that she deserves to be in the conversation, she deserves to be leading it. We're talking about a rookie who's playing like a seasoned vet, outperforming some of the league's biggest names. You know what's crazy? This whole situation is raising some big questions about how we evaluate players in the WNBA. Is it just about stats, team success, star power? Because if it's any of those things, Clark should be right up there. You think the MVP snub was controversial? Wait until you hear how Clark's supporters are responding. Their outrage isn't just loud, it's organized, and it's forcing the WNBA to take a hard look at its selection process. Caitlin Clark's fans are not taking this lying down. They're fired up, and they're making sure everyone knows it. Social media is blowing up with hashtags like Chaichir's Justice for Clark and Diki Ish MVP Clark. These aren't just casual fans we're talking about. These are die-hard supporters who've been watching every game, crunching the numbers, and they're not afraid to call out what they see as a major oversight. One fan put it perfectly. How can you lead the league in scoring and assists and not be in the top 5 for MVP? Make it make sense. And you know what? They've got a point. Clark's not just putting up good numbers. She's dominating in multiple categories. That's the kind of performance that usually screams MVP candidate. But it's not just about the stats. Clark supporters are pointing out how she's transformed the entire Indiana Fever team. Remember when they were struggling? Now they're winning games left and right. One fan tweeted, "Clark turned a bottom-tier team into playoff contenders. If that's not valuable, what is?" It's hard to argue with that logic. Here's where things get really interesting. Clark's fans aren't just complaining. They're asking some big questions about how the MVP is chosen in the first place. They're wondering if there's some kind of bias against rookies, or if the selection process is outdated. One supporter wrote, "It feels like we're just going to do this all year for whatever reason with the WNBA." That's not just frustration, that's a call for change. And you know what? This whole controversy is sparking some serious conversations about women's sports in general. Clark supporters are using this moment to shine a light on how female athletes are recognized and valued. They're pushing for more transparency, more fairness, and more respect for outstanding performances, regardless of a player's experience or star power. It's like Clark's MVP snub has become a rallying cry for something bigger. Her fans are turning their disappointment into a movement for change. In the WNBA, they're demanding a more merit-based system, one that truly recognizes the most valuable players based on their impact on the court, not just their name recognition or years in the league. You know what's wild? This whole situation might end up being a good thing for the WNBA in the long run. Clark's passionate fan base is bringing attention to the league, sparking debates, and getting people talking about women's basketball in a way that goes beyond just game scores. They're challenging the status quo and pushing for growth. All right, let's talk about the Clark effect. This rookie's been tearing up the league, leading in scoring and assists, and turning the Fever into a winning team. But somehow she's not in the MVP top 5? That's crazy. Here's the thing. Clark's performance is making everyone question what most valuable really means. It's not just about stats anymore. It's about impact, about changing the game. And Clark, she's doing all of that and more. This whole situation is bigger than just one player. It's about fairness in sports, about recognizing talent when we see it. Clark's fans are pushing for change, and they're not backing down. So here's my question to you. Are we ready for a new kind of MVP? One that's all about performance, not just reputation? Because Caitlin Clark may not be in the MVP top 5 today, but she's already changing the game for tomorrow. The question is, are we ready to keep up?